Zoba Sanjari Vada Shasunda. Devareshavan Jidin Jamba Jivon de Kalo. Lana Meva Lada Menanje de Sanje Jumden. Benjawa Shaja Dubana Chasan Chudu. Damba Jumden and the Shenshavan Dajumba Yala. Rivada Shazun Demban Devareshavan Jidin Jamba Jivon. Kalo Jivala Meva Lada Menanje de Sanje Jumden. Benjawa Shaja Dubana Chasan Chudu. Damba Jumden the Shenshavan Dajumba Yala. Sanje Rivada Shazun. Devareshavan Jidin Jamba Jivon de Kalo Jivala Sanje Jumden the Benjawa Shaja Dubana Chasan Chudu. Kanze Kanya Zowa Jadon Sajan de no combat. Manage den de la Georges on Deseke Vajana Chance. Namda Gonga Chodo Susan wa Yishe Jazo Seja Lombonda Taban Jidon Sundan. Gombo Joni Jana Chance no Zenjon Demba Timenda Vish. Sendon Rava Jana Chance and the Rachel Seven Suman. Yame Chenje Jana Chance and Gombo to Jeche Demba Tam Jekimbe Dembo. Sonomy de Jazo Jendi Jana Chance and Taben de Jat. Given yes on the Jidit and Chojo Shinju Jana Chance. Chene Treva Maya de Lava Tala Rabu Ne, Shingatama Yid. Gideonaya Chance and on the Vachi and Major Jengava. Rangesem Yazo de Tennis Sanje Demba Yukama Rabi. You must have a sugar than Melon Loda Gender when the Shishan de Delta. Solomon Dia Tunjesi when you go on the Jin Gadana, Chirela to Siveson and Jovan Java show.
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When supreme among humans you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate, with pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme science, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 words of love. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community attending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the flow of faults, and be delivered from the ocean of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jana Zonje Jana Janju Bando Dane Janju Nage Jaso Jebe Sona Jola Benje Sanje Juba Shu Sanje Chodo Soju Chona Janju Bando Dane Janju Nage Jaso Jebe Sona Jola Benje Sanje Juba Shu Sanje Chodo Soju Chona Janju Bando Dane Janju Nage Jaso Jebe Sona Jola Benje Sanje Juba Shu.
I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tanje Yamala Jha Zaman Deda Sanje Jim Den Dishin Shivan Rajuma Yata Bozo Sanje Ribata Jabunda Devar Shivan Jiden Jamba Jivan Deva Kali Jivan Ladam Hadam Benanje Damba Sanje Jim Den Deso Dishin Shivan Den Sonum Tabi Judem Geve Zawa Nama Chume Zawa Shivera Dejama Sonum Jitera Jishi Peje Sambonam Jiteva Chanam Jemedo Jeva Juyo Rimata Tonam Jitema Tebe Mevana Lobargo Shir Sigimen Tonano Zeva Simja Tamji Duma Changi Zebanum Jeja Pabia Kazana Jijeva Young and they were Tonjil and Rowan Jeteve Jepado Pova Sanjay Sona Brata Yanya Boguja Chomija Kutumba Mevata Suda Sumevata Marova Dungan number Juba Pumota number Juba Conan the Jeja Nota Devana Machida Jeva Yonzo Donata number of Trevor Sibale Jova Chua give a Yishi Yonzo Deba Majuba Nota Juba Sanji Jimnedi Yijela Neva Yangan Devana Meneva Yanda Vanijatana Messenger from Jella Sala Juba there. The Dane Sanji Jimnedi Jaguji when then Yanda Namoso Tamation not on give a Toma give a Mandeva Yonzo Zoba Yonzo Tava Yonzo Chawa Yanta Neme Batusha Never they don't want to tell you about Kevin and the social and the Jimne, the Telephone, the children, never Jaman Sovation, the Drovacha, when Medimbo Mission, the water, the Tema, you would do a chapel. Tawachim, get the Nelavashu, Tema, charge a baby, the Javason and the Beijing years of John Jimmy, Kuno and Jimena, so you watch him. Kangi yatin jena wajung wanga wame wajeme wanga cheba tome wame 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 zobe sanje manu je tamba tena cha se lo. So we are on the page 224, 223.
Up to 225.
Huh?
I think
325. Yeah.
just 6.67.
225.
Oh, you want to start with the beginning?
Maybe I'll start good with this stuff. The sins without sight. Since the without sight, the mental cognitions that perceives blue and so on occur in the dream, why would such perceptions not arise from its rapid potential for blind persons without eyes? Since without the sight, the mental cognitions that perceive the blue and so on occur in the dream, why would such perceptions not arise from its rapid potential for an awake blind persons without eye? So now this is the questioning because the minority school thinks that there is no, there's no form as eye organ, something that is, external. So eye organs, or whatever you term that use eye organ, is nothing but the potentialities that resides within the foundational consciousness. So it's the eye consciousness emerged from the potentiality, from the foundational consciousness or the mind basis of all. So now the question is, why not the blind person can have, ripening potential for kind of the perception of the blue? Why would it arises exactly as it would in the someone with unimpaired sight? For insofar the eye organs is absence, the both dream state of the sighted person and the waking state of the blind person are exactly the same. So their blind person's eye organs or the sighted person's eye organs is the both has to be the potentialities, So why not the blind person can have maturation of the potentialities for the foundational consciousness? The force of the argument stem from the fact that in intrinsically real cognitions can arise without an external reality, such as visible form, then there should be no difference at all between the dream and waking state. So the opponent might respond, the reason why mental cognition, perceiving form, and so forth, with clarity does not arise for blind persons, along the lines experienced in the dream by the sighted is not due to the absence of eye. Not due to the absence of eye. If asked, when then is the reason? What then is the reason? The opponent would say it is because the potential for the occurrence of such mental cognition has not yet matured. Therefore, the someone in whom such potential has matured, associate mental cognitions emerges. Here too, due to the conditioned sleep, such a mental cognition exists only in the dream, not in the waking state. So this too is untenable. I think that pretty much it's kind of, just by this kind of, the Chandrakirti's the reasoning is pretty clear that the minor schools kind of the idea of the mind only, no external reality has pretty much debunked. You see, the eye consciousness, awakening, the awakened state of person, has the eye consciousness. That is not because of the external form. It's not because of the external eye organ. It is all maturations for the potentialities which resides in the mind, foundational consciousness. So now the question is, and what stops in the dream that is not allowing the potentialities maturing in the consciousness to perceive the blue form? Yes, you can say the blind person, he is the blind, so therefore there is not yet mature the potentialities. But if you say there's in the dream, you can, if you say there's the maturation of the potentialities to have the consciousness, to cognition to perceive the form, and then why not the blind? And and if you say is it without I, because there is no I, and then in the dream there's no I, why there is maturation of the potentialities? The dream has no active I there. So the root text says that if, according to you, there is the ripening of potentiality for the sixth consciousness in the dream, but not in the awake blind persons, then just as there is no ripening potentiality of the sixth for the blind, why can't one say that it does not exist in the dream either? Same thing, right? So, for if, according to you, there is the ripening potentiality for the sixth consciousness in the dream, but not in the waking blind person, then just as there is no ripening potentiality for the sixth consciousness, such as those to which forms and so on, forms, sound, smell, right, appear clearly for the blind. Why can't one say that it does not exist in the dream either? It's the same thing. So not to do so would be logical. Here too, the argument trades upon opponents' assumptions, intrinsic existence, which is the object to be negated. Now, if you, the opponent, are going to engage in discourse by relying on a mere word, just word, with no supporting reasoning, we too can be contained by leaving it at what we have already stated so far. So we can say, if you have no reason, just simply say, oh, there's no I, there's a blind, he is blind. And then we can also say there's no, consciousness perceiving the blue in a dream because there's no I. There's no maturation of the potentiality to perceive of the form when hearing the sound and smell and dream is not possible because there's no nose, there's no eye, there's no ear. Right. So if just go by a word, and we can say it both ways, So the dream state, mental cognitions emerge for the living. Just like the blind persons, there is no active function of the sense organ. The basis of the cognitions in the case of seeing experienced during a dream. So the cognition in the dream state cannot be mental cognitions that has emerged from the maturation of the potentiality associated with the perceptual, the pattern of the visual cognitions that in turn arose in a dependence on the potentiality called eye organ. So the cognition in the dream state cannot be mental cognition that has emerged from the maturation of potentialities. Because it depends on the potentiality to call eye organ. Yeah, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Is it clear?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the one that made particular sense was that perceiving blue. If the perceiving blue in a dream can occur, then why can't the blind man see blue in the awake state if it all arises from the foundational consciousness. That one made sense, and then the next one still takes a little bit of time. But yeah, it's
So I think, yeah, if we just regular, when we conventionally explain that, says, first the mindfulness school says the eye consciousness and an awake state, eye consciousness, awake state, seeing the form and the color in this form. So there is no such thing out there, the color and form. It is all mature from the potentialities, and eye consciousness and its object, the both, arising or mature from the potentialities. The potentiality is, actually, it's what you are thinking is eye organ. So the except the minority school, all schools thinks that the eye organ is the form, is external. So it's elementally developed, eye sense power. So only the minority school says the eye organs is, there is no such thing as a form, eye organ. So eye organ is, if there is the eye organ, that should be, the potentialities, the maturing. So when it's potentiality that reside in foundational consciousness, when you mature with the eye consciousness, and one become eye sense power, one become eye consciousness. So now this the Prasangika school says, so, and then the why they kind of set the example of the dream. So it's pretty much like the dream, the daytime, the eye consciousness, and the dreaming, and the form that you see in the dream. The both are, there is no object out there. And when you are awake or you are dreaming, so there's no such thing, object, out there, apart from the consciousness. So the dream objects are part of the dream consciousness, and the awake state, the eye consciousness, the object is inseparable, or it is part of the eye consciousness. There is no such thing. So that's why the dream is the best example to prove, there's no external reality. So the eye consciousness, this is, and then what is the eye consciousness? Eye consciousness not really generated, being produced, depending on the form, external reality, not depending on the eye sense organ as a form. And what is that? How the eye consciousness being generated? And this is the eye consciousness being generated from the maturation of the potentialities. So what is the potentialities? Is the ability, the seed that resides within the foundation consciousness, mind basis all. And then there is so many seeds in my foundation consciousness. So now the question, Prasangika school says, so then if not depending on external reality, not depending on an eye sense organ, and still there is some possible of maturation of the potentiality as the eye consciousness, why not the blind person can have that, right? So the blind persons, and my knowledge school says the blind person, because he is blind, there is no eye sense organ. There's no active eye sense organ. So therefore, blind person have no cognition of the perceiving the form. So there's no maturation of potentialities in the blind persons. So then the eye consciousness is simply kind of generated from the maturation of potentialities. Therefore, it's not depending on eye sense organ. Right? eye sense organ. So you keep saying that the eye conscious. What is the reason the blind person cannot have the maturation of the potentiality to perceiving the form? What obscure? What is the obstacle for that?
So that's their argument. That
Yeah.
There's if everything emerges from the mind
potentiality,
base involved, then there's no obstacles.
Yeah. It's nothing with the element, nothing to do with your form. It's everything is maturing from the potentialities. So what stops the blind person could have the cognition perceiving the form? So again, if this is the blind person have no eye, so then my Prasangya school said, just a word. It's just a word. If you're playing word, and we would say in the dream there is no perception of form. There's no in the dream. It's not possible to perceive the form or elephant or horse and in house. You cannot dream it because there is no eye. So in the dream, there's no eye, there's no nose, no ear active. And still, you can hear things, you can smell things, you can see things. So the blind person also, there's no eye consciousness. Blind person, no eye consciousness. So why not this blind person have the cognitions, perceiving the form that is mature from the potentiality? So I think here is it like, other than the minority schools, all schools, they understood that eye consciousness is being generated, but depending on the form, depending on eye sense power, right? And then the immediately preceding condition of the mental reflections, So the eye consciousness is not just mature from the mind, not from the potentialities. It's also depending on the external form and the eye sense organ. So the mind always will say there's no external form, there's no external eye organ. It just simply mature from the potentialities. And then the potential is equally possessed, the blind person and the sighted person. Both have the potentiality. So the maturation of the potentiality for perceiving the form, the blind person is not granted.
It's not what?
The blind person have no maturation of the potential of perceiving the form. Not granted means it's not. Now there may be the one person, the Bhagavan is Ishvara or the God is deciding, I'm not going to give him the chance to see.
Yeah, and every being has the same potential.
Yeah.
Every single being has the same potential, so that it makes no sense that one is blind and one is not.
Yeah.
When you just say, oh, well, that's their potential. Well, then what is it if they all?
Yeah, sighted persons and blind persons, they both have the potential to perceive the form.
Mm-hmm.
But the sighted person have only the sighted person have the possible of maturing the potential of perceiving the form.
Right.
But the blind person has no possible of maturation of the potential to perceiving the form. So there is no such obstacles. There's no any kind of hindrance, or there's no any disturbance. So the in the minority school, so they don't have kind of the valid reason to to prove that a blind person cannot have the maturation of the potentiality, cognition, perceiving the form. So simply say he's blind, he's blind, he's blind. We all know he's blind. The blind is blind all the time, So then the question is, when there is no active eye sense organ, so there's no active eye sense organ. And does that mean he cannot have the maturation of the cognition perceiving form? And then we say, how about in the dream? There is no active eye sense organ. So I think from the beginning is there's kind of narrowly kind of the reasoning that the reason for the no external reality is it says eye consciousness. The external reality is eye consciousness is the only one and the only subject that truly exists, but the objects they don't. How's that? Objects are not truly exist. Only the eye. The reason the eye consciousness truly exists is mature from the potentialities. So it's almost like you see whole from the Vivasika school, the Sudandika school, even the mindfulness school, and the when it comes to explaining the cause and the conditions, they all says there is no one single effect that produced by one single cause. Even the single effect, has to go through, many causes and conditions. So now here they say eye cognitions, perceiving the form, is just born from one potentialities, maturing from the one potentialities. It's not depending on, not depending on light, not depending on the form, not depending on eye sense power.
So from mind only, the foundational consciousness is intrinsic, and the potential is intrinsic.
Yeah. Every functional thing is intrinsic. So that's so to continue the root text. So just as eyelessness is not a cause for such ripening, so now here's it. So just as eyelessness is not a cause for such ripening, with eye or without eye, there is, the maturation of the potentialities to perceiving the form. Without eye, in the dream you can see it, right? In the dream too, the sleep is not the cause for the such activations. So the dream, so like eyelessness is not a cause for the ripening of perceiving the form. In the dream too, the sleep is not the cause for such activations. Dreaming form or hearing the sound. So you must concede that even in the dream, the dream site and its object are cause for false subject. Chidra mingme di gyumin da milam tunya yin gyumayi, techir milam tunya tenwe mik, jumbe yijun to gyur kelas.
So if the potentiality for seeing blue is intrinsic, then that means the consciousness seeing blue, apprehending blue, and the blue is intrinsic too in their mind, right?
Uh-huh.
So the blue that they see is intrinsic, or because they don't believe in objects, although because it's coming from the potentiality from the foundational consciousness, wouldn't they consider it intrinsic?
Yeah, here the minority schools, the objects is, kind of, it's pretty much subjective, you say there's the greenness in the glass, so when you put the glass on the green fabric, so there is the greenness that you can see in the glass. So eye consciousness and its object is like a glass and the greenness in the glass. So there's no such blue and outside of the consciousness. The consciousness is born in the aspect of the blue. So there's no such blue as external. So the mind-only school, when they see some things, they should not, point it outside. Here, they always have to do that. Which color do you like? They cannot say this one, because there is nothing you can point. Now this one's a little bit, Mingme di Gumitar. Mingme ba sebe loan de las, Mingme ba sebe tunangi paja meba. Paja. Meba Gumiba. So it's kind of like here saying, so eyelessness is not the cause. The other argument is for you, sighted person and having eye consciousness perceiving form is not due to the external realities, not due to any kind of form outside. It's all maturing from the potentialities, So, so the no I is not the reason, is not the cause for the maturing the cognition's perceiving form. So same thing, in the dream, this, how's that? Milam needness. So same thing, and the sleeping, sleeping is not the cause for the maturation of perceiving, perception, the perceiving the form. So I is not the cause. Eyelessness, the blind person has no eye, right? So the sighted person is also seeing the form is not because of the, not because of the eye. Yeah, and the blind person's, saying that the blind person is, he has no eye is not the cause for the maturation of potentialities. Right? You cannot say he has no eye, therefore he has no potential or no possible of maturing the potentialities. No eye, because you say, even the sighted persons who see the form is not because of the eye, it's because of the maturation of potentialities. So, and no eyelessness is not the cause. So therefore, the sleeping is not the cause for the dreaming. So, so if now the eyelessness is not the cause to maturing the cognition perceiving form, so then eye consciousness is, intrinsically an intrinsic existence. Eye consciousness, intrinsic existence, right? So eye consciousness, intrinsic existence, the Prasangika schools kind of, how say, laying the contradictions. The Manavana Yoga school says, you say, I consciousness not depending on I, not depending on the external form, but simply maturing for the potentialities. Therefore, I consciousness is intrinsic existence, right? And then, if the I consciousness can, intrinsically or it's intrinsically produce or intrinsically exist, which means I consciousness being generated by itself, not depending on form, not depending on I sense organ. Why not I consciousness being generated without depending on the potentialities? Right. So this is the kind of the consequenceless school. As a consequences, why not I consciousness being generated without depending on the potential, the potentialities? Because I consciousness is this thing, is that born by itself, therefore not depending on the external form, external sense organ. So why not you can say I consciousness is born by itself, intrinsically exists, therefore it's not depending on the maturation of potentialities. If I consciousness has to be depending on, depending on the maturation of potentialities. So like when the barley sprout, barley sprout to mature, to arise, or depending on the barley seed. The barley seed to produce the barley sprout, depending on soil, water, wind. So potentiality is the causal condition for the cognition perceiving the form, and the causal condition is not enough. Just by itself cannot give rise to anything. The potentialities is the causal condition. Then there must be corporate conditions like external form, I sense power, the light, and all things. So there is no such thing as an effect and born from one single cause. So otherwise, it's very kind of saying, if the barley seed, a barley sprouts, the born from the barley seed, it's not depending on any other factors, any other corporate conditions other than the barley seed itself. And then the question is, the barley sprout, what is the what is the obstacles that barley sprout arises in the cold place, not in the hot place? Because the barley seed is both. You can have a barley seed in a cold place. You can have barley seed in a hot place, right? Like in India, the South India, the Northern India. So Northern India, they they grow the barley, and the South India, no, they only grow the rice and corn, and that, like that. So if the barley sprouts can born only from that seeds without depending on any other the corporate conditions, so then it should be, grow well in hot place and both cold place. And the coconut must be, grow in the cold place, because it is depending on only one cause. One single cause can produce it. So I think this So just as eyelessness is not a cause for the such happening, in a dream too, the sleeping is not the cause for such activations. So you must concede that even in a dream, the dream site and its object are cause for false subject. So it's a consequential reasoning, So I think the Prasangika school actually, what they're trying to, how say, so here, eyelessness, the one who has eye or who has no eye is not the reason for maturation of the potentialities, right? So the eye is nothing to do with that. So in this way, the sleeping is not the cause, supposed not the cause for the dreaming. If sleeping is the cause for the dreaming, why? Why is dreaming is depending on sleeping? Because dreaming is just simply mature from the potentialities, the imprints. Why it needs sleep? To dream, why do you need to sleep? So the dreaming, yes, it is the maturation of the imprints, and it is also to have a dreaming, you have to sleep. So then the question is, then maturation of the potential to cognition to perceive a form, yes, it is the cause in effect, but to be mature, you have the temporary condition. If there's a corporate condition, eye sense wise required. Like a dream is sleepy, kind of sleeping is, it's the condition for the eye consciousness, the perceiving form is eye is depending on your corporate condition. So, and then same thing. If there's a one, if the effects do arises from the one single cause, then yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the coconut seed, you can have the coconut seed in the winter place. Those how's that? Cold place, where there's snowing in the mountain, right? So you can bring the coconut seed to there, and you can grow. Because why not? What is the obstacle for that? Why there is, why you cannot grow the coconut in the cold place? Because you have the coconut seed there. So then he says, yes, the coconut comes from the coconut seed, but it depending on the soils, the weather, so many things is required. And those are the corporate conditions. Without them, there is no maturation of the coconut. So same thing, the cognition perceiving the form, yes, the causal condition may be the potential of the consciousness, but to manifest, it is also depending on the corporate condition. It depending on eye sense power, it depending on the light, it depending on the space, it depending on the form. Light to hit, light hit on the form, reflect to the eye sense powers, and the proper distance, and the developing the eye consciousness. So yeah, so that's the mind knowledge school is a little bit, is already debunked now. It's just simply because from the maturation of the potentiality is, it's proven to be wrong. It's not correct. So just, here the commentaries, Lama Tsongkapha commentary. So just as eyelessness is not a cause in an awake blind person for such ripening of the propensities for perceiving the external object. In dream too, the sleep is not the cause for the maturation of the propensity for perceiving external object in a dream. So, for if intrinsically real cognition can arise without external realities. So here says intrinsic and without. So the intrinsic means, something that is, being exist, without depending on any others. So that is intrinsic real. Intrinsic and real cognition can arise without external reality. Such cognition would not depend upon the maturation of the propensity at all. Now this is giving a choice. You say, the barley sprout, born out from one single cause, or barley sprout to be arisen depending on depending on those corporate conditions other than the barley seed. So the awake, the blind persons. I think this is the if here the cognition perceiving form is being generated by one single cause, which is the potentialities. So then, the blind person should have the cognition of perceiving form. They too have the potential. And you says, it's the blind persons have no cognition perceiving form, but they still have the potential to manifest, to mature, depending on light, space, and eye sense organ. So then Prasangika school says, yes, therefore eye consciousness is not intrinsic. It's not independent. Eye consciousness, eye consciousness to be to kind of to arise depending on potential and the external object and eye sense organ and many other things. So therefore, you cannot say the consciousness is intrinsically exists. You cannot say subject consciousness truly exists, object not truly exist. If not truly exist, they're both equally, object and subject both are not truly exist. And subject and object both dependent arising, equally depending, equally not truly exist. Yeah, this is very interesting, And Chandrakirti, when he writes this, so just as eyelessness is not the cause for such happening, in the dream too, the sleep is not the cause for such activations. So you must concede that even in the dream, the dream sight, its object, are cause for false subject. So then we need Lama Tsongkapha's the commentary. So again, Lama Tsongkapha's commentary is not enough. So we have to go a little bit more, exercise on other things. So now say barley sprout and the barley seed is not enough. Seed is not enough for the have barley sprout. It need, soil, water, wind, sun. Even there's all soil, water, wind, sun, but the location, the place, is not proper for that growing that particular things. Again, it is impossible. So, like I said, the barley sprout is not grow in the hot place and only in the cold place. The weather is required. So, which means the Prasangika school says, you see, even the one small effect to arise, to be arisen, it is depending on many other factors. So how can eye consciousness, one single eye consciousness being generated, just mature simply from one single potential? How it is possible, So this is why the Prasangika school, they insist that then the blind person should have the cognition perceiving the form. Because so the cognition perceiving the form is not dependent on many factors. It just can be born from one single potential. So the blind person still have, potential within the foundational consciousness. So this is pretty much the story of the non-Buddhist schools who believe in the creators. They talk about time, they talk about the particles, and then finally they all are part of the Bhagavan. Narayan. From Narayan, there is a particle. From Narayan, there is a time. From Narayan, there's space. From the Narayan, there is a person. Self, the person is, Narayan is the Brahmatma, as the Bhagavan. He is the pure energy. And from there, divided into many. So those are called self. Yourself, myself, self. So self that possessed in everybody is the part of Narayan. So there's some Narayans are stupid, some Narayans are smart. so I think from the beginning, Narayan did something very big mistake. So he divided himself. So, if he did not divide it, there's no samsara. It's only nirvana, So that's his fault. Every fault is coming from, from the creators. So in the commentary state that in this context, when an object is experienced in the dream, it is perceived in terms of convergence of three factors. Convergence of three factors: the object, sense power, and the consciousness. Again, he declared that in the dream state, no sense object and eye faculty or any visual cognitions produced by these two exist. So this statement indicates that for Chandrakirti, all three factors, sense organ, object, and mental faculties, associated with the five sense perceptions, such as the visual perceptions, are perceived within the perspective of the person who is actually dreaming. So these statements indicate that Chandrakirti does accept the existence of the, existing of the dream eye perceptions, dream object. So this is not to say that he admit they exist as I and so forth in actuality. So we can say dream elephant and the elephants. We see the difference, right? Elephant and dream elephant is difference. But in the Chandrakirti also accept the dream I and I. In the dream, you see things with I. In the dream consciousness within the dream mind, yes, there is I consciousness seeing the form. There is the real form to see. But this is a dream I, dream sense organ, dreams object. So that does not mean the dreams object and dream I sense organ is the I sense organ. Actuality. This is the analogous to the case where even though one might accept the presence of the magically conjured horse and elephant and humans, doing so in no way entails admitting that such things are actually horse and elephant and humans. So that's whatever response they may present can be viewed as akin, right? Akin to their thesis. So therefore, this contentions is brought to an end. Akin means
Similar to.
yeah. So whatever the response they may present can be viewed similar to this thesis. So similar to previously the minority schools, the idea of no external reality is, so no external reality. The reason is I consciousness just simply being, generated from the maturation of potentialities. So that's kind of their idea, So the presenting the no external reality is I consciousness is mature from the one single potentialities. So which means they are saying I consciousness is being generated from one single cause. There's no other corporate condition. So the Prasangika school says every reason that you're presenting is like that, incomplete, imperfect, so all crooked all the time, So whatever response they may present can be viewed akin to their thesis. So therefore, this contention is brought to, therefore it has to be bring to expose, how it goes wrong, how it goes mistaken. So need to be debunked, In view of this, in brief, whatever the response Cittamatra may present to the Madhyamika, they can be viewed as akin to their thesis, something yet to be proven. So it's not really validly, logically proven. I think most of the time there's assumption. So therefore the contention, the assertion of the consciousness only, mind only, is brought to an end or rebuffed So let me illustrate these rebuttals by way few examples. Right? Very few is that, for instance, the Madhyamika presents the following arguments. When the Madhyamika says, following argument, Madhyamika says, the three factors, the subject, sense, faculties, and the conditions of the waking state, the predicate, are empty of intrinsic existence. Objects do not exist intrinsically, or objects are empty of intrinsic existence. So because they are perceived, I think it's very, usually we say, object of eye consciousness is empty of intrinsic existence because it is the object, like a dream. So like a dream object, they do not exist intrinsically, So object of eye consciousness too is the object, therefore it does not intrinsically exist. So when the Prasangika school, lays the reason like this, and the Minority school, they imitate that. So saying that Cittamatra presents the following. The cognition of the waking state is devoid of external reality because it is the cognitions. They have a little bit influence from the, intelligent side. So it is the cognitions, like, for example, a dream consciousness. So actually, when we, from the Prasangika point of view, or the Prasangika perspective, the Minority school, it is like, sometimes the teacher or the parents, indirectly praise themselves, says, this is my student, he's very intelligent, he studied for me. And the parent says, oh, this child, this boy and girl is very gentle and very smart. They take after me. So the, it's saying indirectly. They cannot say I am the best or I'm good. So they have no reason to prove, but they try to prove from their, other side. So the minority schools, they don't directly go, the cognition is the truly existing. So they have no reason to prove that. Then it says, cognitions is devoid of external realities. These things. Cognitions are devoid of external realities. The object are not truly exist. They think it is proving the cognition is truly existence.
The first Madhyamika's opinion, the Lama Tsongkapha put on the reason part is because they are not perceived. This one says because it is a cognition. I was wondering if the Tibetan language and both perceived and cognition same language or different?
So in the Prasangika school, say, actually it says it's an object. I'm going to say here. Umabe sebe kamdere, sebe kamdi yuan namshi suma ranshi YouTube tonde, mikpa yimbe shiris, melamshi nobus. Sebe kamdis. In the awakening state, object and sense organ and consciousness, trio, those threes. So not intrinsically exist or empty of intrinsic existence, because they are all mikpa. Yes, mikpa is kind of is a perceived object, it's a perceptible object. It's like cognizable object. It's a knowable object, something like that. So when the one prasangika, so when you want to when you want to refute intrinsic nature of one particular subject, you just hold on that subject, say this is not intrinsically exist, right? So they go directly. The subject is truly exists or not exists. So the Manamuni school way is subject they want to think is a truly exists. For that, and this is objects, external is not truly exist. So they think objects not truly exist is, it's kind of indicating or implying the subject has truly exist.
In a sense, because that's the only thing they
Yeah.
can prove. You can't prove the object exists, but you can say, well, the subject does exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the mundane, sometimes people say the two friends going and says, I want someone professional to fix something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, he is not that good, yeah. So which means I'm the better. Or he did it and he got something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of there's the kind of this what do you call it? Yeah, maybe so the minority school is not directly explicitly saying that the cognition is truly exist, and they have no reason to prove that. And they thought, oh, if I say the object of the I consciousness does not truly exist, that is going to prove the I consciousness is truly exist.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, consciousness, the cognition or the waking state is devoid of external reality because it is cognitions like, for example, the dream consciousnness. So this very much kind of, it's the way they kind of, lays out the reasoning is something that preconceived, that the cognitions, the consciousness, the subject has to be truly exist. If there is the false and true, the false and the true nature, it's all about the object. The cognition of the waking state, the devoid of external realities. They think this is the reason, this is the perfect logic to constitute the consciousness as truly exists, inherently exists. And then the reason is lays out the object perceived during the waking states are false. The sighted persons, one who sees the object, external realities, that is false. It's not true because they are object. Like, for example, the dream object. So this is why it's incomplete kind of, syllogistic reasoning, right? Incomplete. It's not the valid one. Like if there exists no depends, not has a, there exists no depends nature. What's that? Likewise, if there exists no depends nature. Does it make sense?
Dependent?
Dependent nature. Exists no dependent natures, which is the basis for the afflicted and enlightened classes of the phenomena. If there exists no dependent natures. So it's kind of saying, if there is no, true quality or the true intrinsic nature of the foundation consciousness, if there is no basis, so therefore there is no quality of the mind which can become the path to enlightenment. There is the quality of the mind which can become the path and lead to the lower realms, samsara and liberations. The consciousness are all depending on the true nature of the foundation consciousness. So the foundation, I think their most concern is, because eye consciousness, air consciousness, nose consciousness, mental consciousness, now particularly my mind, the mental consciousness, in imagining car, imagining house, imagining friend, and imagining cup or whatever. These are temporarily advantageous to arise and cease. Mm-hmm. So the mindfulness school want to know that there is one foundation of consciousness which is stable all the time. It exists. So if there is no stable foundations and there's no kind of activities of rising and ceasing, so it's it's like what do you call in the airport there's a what's that? What do you call that? The ground for airplane to
tarmac?
Huh?
The tarmac, like where they land, or
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the ground of the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's many airplanes flies and land and flies land. So it's like there's something
Right.
a stable basis. So this thought that this is the mind basis. Mind basis all has to be truly exists.
Right.
So this is why they say that, exists dependent natures.
So they call the foundation consciousness a dependent nature.
Yeah. Xiangwang is a dependent nature. So which is the basis for that?
I was going to say that almost sounds like other things depend on it. Like that, and dependent in that nature, not necessarily like a codependent.
Yeah.
It seems like, yeah.
So mindfulness school, every aspect we said they're like looks like a non-Buddhist school. Like really, they every time they want to go into one single base, which is the cause for everything. Like the religious, who believes in the creator, they always think, if someone dies, the God wants him to die. Or if someone is born, God gave birth. If flower grows there in your yard, it's God give that. So everything happening is done by one single cause. So this influence is so much in the mindfulness school. They think if there are so many things, the activities, the eye consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, mental consciousness, continuously rise and cease, there must be something that's stable basis, that everything's rise from it, everything's cease, and it kind of leaves the seed within that, So that's the kind of the the foundational consciousness, this is, or mind basis of all. So when there is mind basis or not truly exists, then which is the basis for the afflicted and enlightened class of the phenomena. Kunjang, when the mind that is, become the positive, the virtuous mind, non-virtuous mind, So when there is a non-virtuous mind actively, engaging on the object, creating negative karma, the virtuous mind engaging positively, creating the positive karma, all these are, should have the strong, stable, true base. So which is the mind basis of all. I think, yeah. So if you, yeah. So this is it's very suit for the mundanes, the concept.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you say the non-Buddhist schools, when they tell the stories, it really draws people's attention. Because it's really talking something that is suited in what you are kind of conventional thinking. So there's a some way that says, someone's too, very devoted to the Krishna, Vishnu, Narayan. And then if Narayan really comes to your house, he will, make the gold shower within your house, in your yard. And then one single gold not goes to the neighbor's house. So that everything perfectly land on your yard.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of thinking, because it's all conditioned by one single cause.
Mm-hmm.
If you please them perfectly, totally focus, and he will shower the gold within your yard. No one single gold falls in others' neighbor's house. So that it kind of it draws the mundane's desire.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do that too. I want to pray with Narayan. So because I never want benefit to my neighbor. I want so so this is the foundation of consciousness. So their rejoinder are there these sort. As for the first two syllogisms of the Cittamatra, since their exemplifications remains unestablished, the reason they offer remain the same as their thesis. So like incomplete thesis. Pemadubas, we call it, and it's the debating kind of systems and debate system. They call Pemaduba, incomplete or how say no perfect, no proper example. So here, no proper example means the mind-only school says the I consciousness is devoid of external reality. I consciousness devoid of external reality because it is the consciousness like a dream consciousness. So what they mean is the dream consciousness, there is no object. So, but there's no object, it's just the reflection of the mind. The same thing in the awakening state, the I consciousness sees the object. There is no real object. So Now, why the Prasangika school says there is no proper example? Because you have said that dream consciousness is no object. Dream consciousness without object, there's no subject. The dream objects is the object, the property of the mental consciousness. It is called imputed object, you know. So dream has the object. Otherwise, what you dream, right? When you dream something, there's something is you are dreaming. Therefore, something is the object. So there's the remain unestablished. The reason they offer remain the same as their thesis. This is because in a dream state, there do exist mental object forms that are of the different nature from the mental consciousness. So mental object. So we change the source. I think I forgot the there's one line in this the English translation. They use another term. So the mental, in the dream that you see the trees or the plants, or, so these called mental form. So mental form, as I mentioned, there's divided into 5. Mental form, those particles, atoms, minute particles are the mental form because it's called deducted form, mentally deducted, So it's still mental form. So then the dream objects are called imputed form. Is kind of you're imposing from your imprints, So imputed forms. And then there's a form they call when your mind is totally, sometimes it's kind of like a fainted or kind of people says, my mind is blowed, right? What's it called? Blown my mind. To blow my mind is there's an object, there's nothing, no object, to describe, to characterize, and totally absence. That absence that mentally see is called is the there's this another form. This and it's a mental form. This can be when you meditate in emptiness and there's a mentally the clarities in the mind, that is also called mental form. And sometimes you said that so Ngombakayu is, and then the deducted form, imputed form, the mental form, which is the clarity of the mind, and then there's the form which is being born from the promise or pledge. So when you take the monastic vows, lay vows, or you take the pledge for the president or manager or kind of there's something, right? From now on, I'm going to fulfill this subject, the project. So, and then at that time, because of that mental determinations brings the sum of the form in your body. So those is also the mental form. It cannot be seen, cannot be touched. Right? It's still obstructive nature. and sometimes some emotions very serious and very profound impacted in your mind, and that brings some kind of obstructive nature in your body. So those are mental form. It just conceived mentally. It cannot be see through your sense organ. So that's the 4. And number 5, the mental form is through the concentrations, it brings some kind of changes in the element. And that's how, through that very concentrations, it's kind of manipulating of the elements. Again, it's changing the size, the shape, and qualities. So those objects cannot be touched and seen as a mental form. So the dream object is the one of the mental form. So you are dreaming something, that something is the form, that is the object. So you cannot say the dream consciousness has no object.
When somebody has some kind of event or trauma that creates obstacles in your mind, it's the same form as the one that picks up bow or flesh.
Pretty much same, yeah. So usually in the text they mention about Dombata Demi, vow, and the vow is considered to be the positive form, right? And then sometimes there's the negative vows. From now on, I take this work to kill this, animals, or they can we do become the butchers. So when you got the butchers, then you have to promise them from now on I will kill 100 chickens, right? Something like that. So the moment that you take that vows, there's a new form in your body. So those called mental form. Yeah, so this is because in the dream state there do exist mental object forms that are of the different nature from mental consciousness. Different nature from mental consciousness. With respect to the third argument, the opponent's intention is no proof the existence of an intrinsically real basis for the afflicted and unafflicted class of the phenomena. If the assertion is that no such basis will exist, the reason will be unestablished. If, however, intended basis is something that is intrinsic reality, then there will be no entailment. So this is the third. Is likewise, if there exist dependent natures, this is the basis for the afflicted enlightenment. They're saying that if the foundational consciousness not truly exists, then there is no possible of afflicted mind and unafflicted mind. So if there is, the negative mind and the positive mind, so which means, the both grows from one base, both arising, emerge from one base, which is the mind basis all. That has to be truly exist. So if you say it intrinsically exists, to prove the mind basis to truly exist because there's the activity of the positive and negative mind is incomplete reason. So it is it's not the valid reason to prove the foundational consciousness truly exists. So there is many activities of the illusional object. So that because many activities of illusion objects is not the reason to say the illusions are truly exist. Every false, like a mirage, reflections are not truly exist, but there is activities. So having activities, having many activities, or having a variety of activities is not the reason to prove the basis is, intrinsically exist or they truly exist. So therefore, this contention is brought to an end. So the Maitreya school now finally, beat down. So the way it kind of is logically, logically, how's that? With reason, you expose the Maitreya schools, in the Maitreya schools, there's assertions is pretty much based on assumptions. There's no any valid reason to establish any subject as a truly existing. Yeah, any questions? So I think that the mind only means only the consciousness is truly exists. The object of the consciousness does not truly exist. And the reason is the objects just reflects in the mind from the imprints. So it's not true. And, the consciousness is the one one holds or contains all the habits, good habit, positive habits. Right? So the consciousness is the one that can, holds or the good habit, bad habit. So the consciousness is some kind of base for the good or the bad. So the consciousness always truly exists. So any habits, and out of that habit reflects a good or bad or any form of a sound or whatever that does not truly exist. Because the potentialities, the imprints, the propensities are, advantageously, they kind of imprints within the mind, and they can be wiped up, they can be erased, so they can be, produced, and it can be removed. The consciousness is not, it's not the case that you can remove it. It's always there. So now they're saying, so what are the objects which are not truly exist? And Maitreya school says, color that you see outside is not true. Sound that outside you hear is not true. Smells are not true. So then what is the true? Eye consciousness, air consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness truly exists. The smells do not exist out there. the external realities is not, because they are all, reflects within the consciousness, happening within the consciousness, imprints within the consciousness, rapid, mature within the consciousness. Outside of the consciousness, there is no such thing as a form. That's the kind of, say, this is what they want to believe. So this is how they assumed, and now they have to bring the reason to say the I consciousness is the only thing that truly exists, not the object of I consciousness, right? And then there's this I consciousness is object. There is no such object out there, the conditioning the I consciousness. Like Cittamatra school, Maitreya school says, in the sutra, even the Buddha in the sutra says, like a child that's born from mother and fathers, the child born from mother and fathers. So similarly, form and I sense powers produce the I consciousness, and then the interpret in the Cittamatra school is saying the form they cast image to the sense powers. So the reflect the receive in sense powers experienced by the consciousness, mental consciousness paying attention, and therefore there's the I consciousness. So the I consciousness is being produced, one from their in the imprints, their kind of continuity consciousness. The second, an external reality, the form that casts the image, and then the ruling conditions. So the I consciousness named after the I. So there is the sense power that can receive the reflections, and just simply kind of form casts image to reflect, and consciousness experience is not enough to generate the I consciousness. Mental consciousness has to join, because once the mind is totally distracted to another object, and there is the object that constantly casting its image to the I sense power, and then the conscious experiencing it, but there's no recognition what I see. So therefore, the mental consciousness let go of one object and then join to this. So then you have I consciousness. So therefore, objective conditions, ruling conditions, immediate preceding conditions, then the I consciousness. So the Maitreya school give up all of them. There is no objective condition, there's no ruling conditions. There's only one cause, which is the potentialities, which is far in the mind basis all there. So it's I consciousness being generated from the maturation of the potentialities, right? So it kind of is saying, yes, I consciousness is born from potentialities, the maturation of potentialities. So then what is the problem by saying it? Because we say sprout is born from the Bali sprout born from Bali seed. Because you earlier says the sprout is not depending on the soil, not depending on the weather, not depending on and sun, not depending on the wind. And then sprout born from the Bali seed means, so the sprout has to be born from one single cause. So the mind owners say there is no external reality, there is no external sense organ, there is no any preceding conditions. Yeah. So there's no the corporate conditions. So it arose from the one single cause, which is the potentialities which reside in the foundational consciousness. So that's the kind of saying is incomplete, imperfect reasoning. When the barley sprout cannot be born, from one single cause, how can I conscious being arose from one single cause? Any questions?
Is Prasangika's view on how the eye works similar to Cittamatra, or there must be some difference?
What?
Is it Prasangika in alignment with the way Cittamatra views how the eye works?
How the eye works?
With the external object reflecting to the eye faculty.
I think there's a slight difference between the Siddhantika and Maitreya school. Siddhantika school says that the image that reflects in sense power is cast by the form, which means that if the color, blue color or the red color is the kind of reflects in your eye sense power. So it is kind of to throw the image from the object. So this casting is image to there. So which means image was there in the form.
So the color was already in
the color was there already in one part, which is in the form. So the Prasangika school says, no, color is not pre-exist in some part and then throw the image to the sense power. It's not. So the color has born, the light hits on the form, that the lights again reflects to the sense power and the proper distance, and then the color happens. The color is not pre-exist in the form, nor pre-exist in space, nor pre-exist in the light. So it's a relatively. So in Siddhantika school, the color must be exist somewhere. Otherwise, how can the form cast image to there? So when I throw the ball, and I have to have a ball in my hand, so from my side.
Thank you.
Eyes affected with. I always have this hard time to pronouncing this. Myodosipia. This word is not even I found in dictionaries. So yeah, likewise, there exists no dependent natures, which is the basis for the afflicted and the enlightened class of the phenomena. Then the phenomena of both afflicted and enlightened class will have no existence. This is because they will have no basis. I think it's kind of, this is their own concern. It's not because of that, the problem here is, says the the foundation consciousness not truly exists, and then there is no two opposite mind. One is the positive negatives. So the positive negatives, the constantly rise and cease, and because of the foundation, the foundational mind is truly exist.
And Prasangika says it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So optical illusions can be seen in many ways, right? So that does not mean there's any, firm base or kind of true nature in there. Sometimes they're kind of, very absurd thing, almost like mindfulness school trying to persuade us to think that there's a foundational consciousness which truly exists. So it said, do you think there is the afflicted nature of the mind and inafflicted or unafflicted? Yeah. So inafflicted, the true mind. So there's the positive mind, there's a negative mind. There's the virtuous and there's non-virtuous mind. So if you think these are all, there's sometimes non-virtuous mind, sometimes virtuous mind, and then they're all rise and cease. And we say, yes, this is right. Now, the foundation is truly exist. So,
It sounds stable.
do you see my two finger? Right? Yeah. Two finger. Now I'm true. So I'm going to see I'm not truly exist. You see my two finger. I have two hands. Now I'm truly exist. Okay, so here. No questions? Chanju Simja Rinpoche, Maje Bana Gesuje, Gevanya, Bambevanyo, Kondo Pevers, Tony Tawa Rinpoche, Maje Bana Gesuje, Gevanya, Bambevanyo, Kondo Pama Simja Tamjin, Deva Denjujin, Netrotamja, Tado Tonga, Chanju Simba, Kama Suju, Tada Gunja, Molo Juju, Carrera Voko Vishima, Penda Deva, Maruju, Jerezon, Dinzin Jazu, Yeshabe, Side Badu, Denjuji.
May the precious body mind that live on horizon grow. May the bone have no decline but increase forever. May the precious mind realizing emptiness that live on horizon grow. May the bone have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness. May all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness, more powerful Trinity Tenzin Gyatso. Remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you.